I recall us having some conversations back then. I mean, it was a hard time, certainly,
Mhm.
wrestling with those
Yeah.
things. But so you kind of lost this dream and this joy that you've described of,
Well, not
uh,
identity really, right? It was kind of
yeah,
like
yeah,
at the
right,
I mean, I worked in a running shoe store. Like
right. That's how you were known across town.
and that's how I knew myself. It was kind of
Yeah,
like I didn't know I knew I wasn't going to work in a retail running shoe store forever, but I didn't have this like, oh, well, I'm doing running and then after I'm going to go pursue XYZ degree or career. Like it was just all about the running. So when it came to, the final surgery, which ended up being I had to have a bone graft to my femur, and it was like you can't do any high impact for a full year because all these others had been 12
yeah,
weeks recovery. I got really good
right,
at and proved to myself over and over I could bounce back. When they said a year, it was just like, okay, well then what are we going to take up so I don't murder somebody? Because
right.
that's my outlet and I'm an endorphin addict for sure. Like, so it was just kind of like number one, who am I? What is my
Yeah,
value? I didn't realize until it was gone how much I was associating my entire value on my ability to be this runner and my ability to
yeah,
have success. Like I enjoyed the fun of it more than I cared about the winning, but it was like I was
yeah.
able to keep doing it and justifying it because of the success. So then when that was gone, it was just like I'm just a retail shoe salesperson and I can't, and um
But
but
the redirection, right? Like there was a redirection that occurred in that
yeah.
moment. And so, tell us about that.
Yeah, so I decided it was, people have been telling me for years, "Oh, you got to get a bike. You should try cycling. It's so much easier on your body, blah 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 blah." And it was just like I wasn't going to try it until I was forced to because I was all in for running and that what does this do for my running? But then it was just like, "Okay, I guess we're going to get a bike." And I had these two surgeries. One was setting up for the other. And Missy, your wife, my dear friend actually came out to Colorado to help me get around after this first surgery because I was really pretty uncapable for a couple of days, couple of weeks. So as we were sitting together in Colorado, I didn't own a bike yet, and I signed up for the Big Dam Bridge 100 because I was just like, I mean, granted that wasn't forcing me. I could have just forfeited the $100 or whatever, but in my mind, I was just like, if I commit to this, if I
Yeah,
make a commitment, I'm going to follow through with it. So I was like, if I
yeah,
sign up for this race or ride, if I sign up for this 100-mile ride, I'm going to get a bike. I'm going to learn to ride. I thought that was just something I was doing to stay sane, like something to keep my weight down because mama loves a snack and to keep my brain in a good place. I never anticipated it being, forever. And this was even though they had said we don't know at what capacity. We'll never tell you you should run again. Whether or not you'll be able to will kind of be how well you heal, how much you can tolerate the discomfort, but in my mind, it was like this was a stopgap. I was getting back to running. Like I've been
yeah,
down this road
yeah.
before. This is a longer road, but I'm getting back to running. That was kind of between these two surgeries. After the final one, I could only ride indoors for I think the first 3 or 4 months.
Hmm.
So initially I got my partner, who's now my husband, but at the time, we were dating and he gave me his old school trainer and I went in the garage and it was like I was staring at a wall. And staring at a wall was fine when I was allowed 20 minutes. And staring at a wall was kind of fine when I was allowed 40 minutes. But when I got to an hour, I said, I can't do this. This
Yeah,
is so boring. And so I don't remember if it was you and Missy.
yeah.
Some,
Miss.
some, well, you told me about Zwift Academy, but somebody said to me, you need to try Zwift, which is this online virtual cycling platform. You become an avatar in a virtual world and you power your avatar by spinning on your indoor bike. I thought, okay, this sounds good. And then so I was on Zwift and life is good again. I can sit there and I can just crank away. But it's still all it was for me was sanity. I never
Yeah.
thought about outdoor racing. I never thought about whatever. Well, I get a text from Missy one day and she goes, well, Tom, and I know you've been doing this Zwift a lot and check this out. And it was this link to this thing called Zwift Academy. And it was like, become a pro cyclist. And I mean, I will never forget it. I don't know where I was going, but I was in the back of a car reading about this. And two thoughts that went through my mind. One was because Missy's text said, you should do this. You would probably win. And I thought, that's just so cute because it was kind of, well, because it was, in the bubble of Pulaski County or, just all of Little
Sure.
Rock,
Yeah.
I was a good runner, but there was in the community there was a very inflated understanding of how good people thought I was. I mean, because I could win everything locally. That it's like I remember there was an article that came out actually after the Olympic trials that was like Thorvilson fails to qualify for the Olympics, and I was like, I never had a shot. Like being there was the win. But so it was that kind of thing I was used
Yeah.
to. I just thought, well, of course they think I could win this because people think that I'm going to the Olympics. People think that I could win the world championship of marathon. So yes, I'm good. I have talent, but I'm not as. So when Missy said you would probably win, I took it with an absolute grain of salt. But I remember looking at the description of this program and thinking, this is the kind of thing I could win if they offered something like this for runners. Like I wonder what the person who's going to win this is doing right now. Because this is like, I mean, I barely
Wondering that very thing.
Yeah, I was just like, I wonder who it is. Like, what is the life of someone who's as successful in cycling as I've been in running? What are they doing right now? Like, it was, oh, you can be a professional cyclist. Like, I just wasn't. I mean, I used to watch the Tour de France, but beyond that, it's like I didn't follow women's cycling. I didn't really follow any other bike racing. It just didn't even register in my mind. Like, this is something people do for a career. Like, I think I registered right then and there because you kind of pre-register. I mean, it didn't cost anything. It was just this free program. Sure, I'll go ahead and do that. And then, I mean, I can, the Cliff Notes version is, months, or I guess about a year later, I won the dang, I won the pro cycling contract. And I will say the caveat to that, it was as much of a surprise to me and everyone putting on the competition that someone at the time I was 37 years old. I'd been cycling for less than a year. I'd never been in a race with more than 15 women. The program still exists. And the people who win it now are typically early 20s at oldest. They've been dreaming of cycling since they were 9. They're looking for a proven level of experience, but I was in the right place at the right time and seized the opportunity, right? It's like that year, the average age of the participant was 38. And I remember going to the final, it was this thing that whittled down from semifinalist to finalist, and the finalists, 3 of us went to Mallorca with this professional cycling team, which was a terrifying thing in and of itself, because you're just like, oh, this was a cute concept in my mind of like, how funny would it be if you made it to the finals and they're like, she can't ride a bike. And then when it actually happened, it was just like, just don't embarrass yourself every single day. But the 3 of us 2 of us were 37, 1 was 41. None of us had been cycling more than a year. Like, that just would not happen now. So when I say I would never win it today, that's not me being modest. That's just facts. But I had the power, and I had the, and I had the opportunity. So there I went onto the world tour, which for people listening who don't follow cycling at all, most everyone's heard of the Tour de France. There is now a women's Tour de France. The years that I was there was not, but I was on the level of team that, the team that I was on back then, now, like, they won the women's Tour de France last year. So it was the tip of the top. It's like, it's hard for me to explain. It's kind of like, see this standout player in Little League and you're like, sign him to the
world,
the team not only that's winning the World Series,
right?
Start him, not just like, let's put him on the bench and let him learn. Like, I rode in the Giro d'Italia that year. I didn't belong there. I mean, it was the coolest and simultaneously scariest thing I've ever done in my life.